So what was it? So in order for the body to ascend, it has to, I'm just going to say the words that come, it has to relieve the strands that it's holding. And the strands that it's holding, or the bands that it is holding, is the connection, is the baton that was passed on to from the DNA, from the ancestors, onto this body. And with it comes topics, themes. Yeah, it's not just brown hair, what the body's going to look like, but it's also emotional themes from a certain angle and where trauma happened. And so that means light got stuck in the darkness and it's getting a lot of pressure. And so it's an emotional theme that also gets passed on. And those themes and their representation in the body, they have to come to a conclusion. They have to come to a healing that will dissolve the trauma also in the physical. And that will let the light out again, that will let the light through again, so that that piece of yourself, be it energetic, but there may also be a physical actual representation of that, I'm not 100% sure, to come back into your light, to come back into your energy stream, out of the shadows, out of the... it was cut off from God, so to speak. It was cut off. It was from your energy stream, piece of your soul, and it was cut off from that energy stream and felt like it was alone, and it was really scared. And then we couldn't see it because it was in the shadows, because it was so dense. Oh, I'm doing this with my fist because it was so dense that it squeezed out all the light and it couldn't reflect the light. And so that's a blockage to light. Yeah. And we need to have regained from the DNA strands that were passed on. Yeah, when is that? Where does the DNA begin? I would say from the very beginning. And a beginning is always just a threshold, so how far you want to go back, I don't know. That's not something where I want to go right now in my mind. I just want to stick to this part of the picture that I have just seen. So that means that if you feel, I feel I'm ready to ascend, if I feel I'm ready to ascend, or I'm ascending because I understand what's going on planetary-wise at the moment in this vantage point of time-space reality that I share with a big collective, I also know at the same time what needs to happen, or what is happening, because it's kind of like one big process, is that all the stories that are based on trauma, where there is still a part of me calling out to me, through fear kept away and has no connection to my energy stream, that's going to want to come back. And it's not just going to want to do that, everything around me is making that happen physically, like from the mechanics of it is making that happen, from the matter of how matter acts is making that happen right now. So as this surfaces in my life, all the little areas, the little stories, they all end in a tip. And that tip here is a negative thought. So whenever I have a negative thought, that's based on all the way down from that tip of the tree to down the trunk, down branch, trunk, to the seed of the tree. And the tree is made out of beliefs, thought upon thought upon thought upon thought. Okay, here's a thought, and soon enough you have 2 thoughts coming from that one, and so forth. So it's the mind, in other words. It's the mind. There's a difference between mind and awareness. Yeah. So awareness can see mind. Awareness can see thoughts. Not like visually in the sense of that, a literal material thought pops up in front of my face. Not like that. But you know what a thought feels like. You know what a thought doesn't look like anything, doesn't smell like anything, it doesn't feel like anything other than what it does when we hold and believe and see reality through that thought, with that thought as a basis of our understanding and of the next thought that I'm thinking, and so forth. So if that thought is untrue, if that thought, in other words, how is a thought untrue? If that thought is based on separation, because that's not true, no matter where you look, how you look, you won't find that. I mean, yes, if you use an old instrument, it will only be able to capture a certain frequency range, obviously. But we already know that, We already know that. And this is also what we scientifically know, is that separation is an illusion. You know why? Because when they go into, no matter what matter they go into, or in space, like out here, everything is based on an atom. That's what they find. Every matter is based on an atom. And then they said that this is what atoms look like. And they went into the atoms, they looked into them. And what they found were smaller parts. Not very many. And then they looked into those smaller parts. So it's like scale, it's scale. And now they're at the point of the scale where they can't even find matter anymore. Where it's not even a wave. Like when I said about the smoke, it's not even a wave. And yet it's there somehow, something like that. Or it's a wave, I think that's the latest, a wave that's everywhere at the same time in the universe, or could be everywhere at the same time in the universe, something like that. But I think they're even beyond the wave part. So what we come down to is, at the matter of matter, there is no matter. And that's just the intellectual part, and then we can experience it by realizing that the mind, which is thoughts is not the same, has not the same form and not the same experience of reality. So it's something different. Something different. Something different. As soon as something is in form, it's that's what it is, what's different. Because as soon as something is in form, then it's unique. There are not two forms that are alike. Not two forms that are ever alike, because there's no such thing as total stillness other than awareness itself, other than just consciousness. And as soon as there is movement that is coming from thought, some thought is stirring the waters. So that also means everything changes constantly, constantly. There's no true still point, even if it seems so. So let's take a rock, a very dense rock, a very hard rock. And in 100 years, it doesn't seem to have changed at all. Does that mean that that rock is totally still? No. It's alive and it's not totally still. And it's changing. In other words, it is changing. There's also life in it. It is also constantly changing. Time has its effect on it as well, because it is alive. Because a rock is like a mineral kingdom. It's still, let's take the most dead thing that is matter that we can imagine. Like I would always imagine a piece of dense plastic. You would think it's lifeless, in other words, but also that changes, and in the end is made out of atoms. So everything is made out of atoms, which in the end aren't even things. So everything is made out of, if it's no thing. The only thing that is no thing, that is not a thing, is awareness, is what we call awareness. Or consciousness. Or conscious awareness. It's difficult. You have to go beyond the thought. Like, okay, I'm diving into awareness now. And mind, you can be quiet. I mean, you can relax. Yeah, so I get a glimpse of awareness, and there's a lot of thoughts. There's still then thoughts coming through. But less. There were so much less thoughts coming through that I could actually notice a single thought. And the way that I could notice the single thought is because I wasn't it. I was the awareness of it. I was just aware of it. So, that is at the matter of everything. Let's just leave it at that.